day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's geography lesson. My name is Nomthandazo Malembe. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. So today, learners, we are doing map work. Under map work, we're going to look at the map interpretation as well as your GIS. So I would advise each and every one of you to have his or her copy of the map of Bloemfontein, because all the questions are based on the map of Bloemfontein. But before we start with our lesson, I just want us to go through our lesson objective for today. So by the end of this lesson, learners, you should be able to interpret. We're going to look at the scale of the map. You must be able to interpret the scale of the map, and we're going to look at the map index. Then you must be able to interpret the predominant activities that are done within that area that you are given. And also you must be able to identify or interpret the type of rainfall as well as the types of slopes. And then also we will be identifying the GIS components. Remember, our lesson is based on the map interpretation as well as your GIS. So we're going to look at our GIS components, and then also under the GIS components, you should also be able to differentiate between your vector data as well as your raster data. Then we're going to look at describing the remote sensing as well as its use, how we can use remote sensing. And then lastly, we will be able to identify the concept, which is buffering. Then we're going to take you back to your pre-knowledge baseline. In your pre-knowledge baseline, we're going to look at grade 8 as well as grade 9. In grade 8 and grade 9 in term 1, we have learned about the map skills. So in grade 9 in particular, you have learned about the map features, that we've got two features, which are your physical feature, the ones that we regard as a natural feature, and your constructed features, the one that we regard as a human-made feature. And then also you have learned in grade 9 that we use contour lines, as we are using contour lines in the map to provide information. What information? We're talking about the height as well as the shape of the land. Remember, you can use your contour lines to identify the type of slope. And also, we're looking at not just the shape of the land, but we're looking at the features such as your hill, your rivers, your valley, as well as your mountain. And also, we have learned that we've got the two types of your aerial photographs. Remember, we're going to look at the GIS as well. So it starts at grade 8 as well as grade 9, whereby you identify the two types of your aerial photographs, which are your vertical aerial photograph, and which is the angle which is taken from directly above, and also your oblique aerial photograph. When we are defining what is an oblique aerial photograph, we're talking about the photograph which is taken from the high above, which means it is just straight from the high above the ground that is at an angle. Whereas your vertical aerial photograph, it is taken directly above. So we're going to look at our questions based on our pre-knowledge baseline. In our questions, we have 4 questions. Amongst those questions, the first one, you need to identify the 3 landscape pictures that are provided on a map using a contour lines. The mark allocation there, it is saying 3 times 1, which means one landscape will give you 1 mark. Hence, you need to mention all 3. Then secondly, you name and describe the picture that are shown on the map. So what are the pictures? The question says name and describe. So you are not only stating or naming, but you also need to describe those features that are shown on the map. Then question number 3, you state the 2 types of aerial photographs. You are just stating the 2 types of aerial photograph. Then number 4, you account for the 2 types of aerial photograph you mentioned in question number 3. When the question is saying account, now you need to explain. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to work on these 4 questions, and then after 5 minutes, you will be able to do our corrections. Girls and boys, I hope we are all done. So let us look at our first question, whereby you are supposed to identify the three landscape features that are provided on the map. Number one, the hill. It's a landscape that is provided on the map, and you are able to identify it using the contour lines. Then secondly, we have the river valleys. The river valley, again, it's another landscape that you can identify on the map and also using the contour lines. And then lastly, we're looking at the mountains. Remember, there is a difference between just the hill as well as the mountain. Then secondly, you name and you describe the features that are shown on the map, 2 times 2. So again, we have the physical feature. So this is naming physical feature only. So when we are describing the physical feature, which are naturally made. Then secondly is the constructed features. Constructed feature, when you are describing, those are the features that are made by humans. Then we're looking at our third question. You state the 2 types of aerial photograph. We've got our vertical aerial photograph as well as our oblique aerial photograph. Then lastly, you are supposed to account for these type of aerial photographs that you have mentioned in question number 3, which is your vertical aerial as well as your oblique aerial. So we're going to start with the vertical aerial. Remember, we said these are the pictures or these are the photographs that are taken from directly above. What are they using? They're using a satellite image to capture those pictures. And then secondly, we have our oblique aerial. Oblique aerial, remember we are talking about the photographs or the pictures which are taken directly or from high above at an angle. Then we're going to look at our terminology. In our terminology, number 1, geographical information system. Remember our lesson, it's based on your map interpretation as well as your GIS. So GIS stands for Geographical Information System. And also you must be able to define it. Remember all the definition, they give you 2 marks. So when we're defining the geographical information system, we're talking about a computer system which is designed, number 1, to capture, to store, checking as well as displaying the data. Then secondly, we're looking at the raster data. The raster data, we're talking about a data which is a type of a digital data, which is structure used to represent the spatial information through the grid of pixels. Here is the key. Then number 3, we're looking at the vector data. Remember these 2, your raster as well as your vector. You must be able to differentiate between the 2. So your vector data, it refers to the data, a structure which is used to represent the real world, and also it features the various fields such as your graphics as well as your GIS. So very important, it is composed of your points, lines, polygon. So where is the difference between the 2? Is that your raster data, it uses the grid of pixels. So this is the data that is presented through the photograph or that is presented through the grid of pixels. Where else your vector data? We're talking about a data that is represented using the points, lines, and polygon. Remember, we've got 2 sets of maps, which is your orthophoto map as well as your topographic map. So it is important looking at the pictures that are featured in that map. Then you will be able to identify which map belongs to the raster and which map belongs to the vector. Then your number 4, we're looking at buffering. When you're talking about buffering, there are so many ways you can use to define buffering. As long as you have a clue that we're talking about the demarcation or the marking of an area around that picture or around that object. Then we're going to carry on with our concept. So we're looking then in our term number 5, we're talking about the remote sensing. When you're talking about the remote sensing, it's where you should understand that we are gathering information about an area without being physically there. So what tool are we using? We're using a satellite image to capture all this information without being physically there. That is important, that all this data or all this information is captured without being physically around. Then we're looking at, in your map work, you will always be given the instructions. So in the instruction, it says instruction as well as information. So these are the things that you should be aware of. So in our instruction, we have a 1:50,000 topographic map, which is the extract from your 2926 AA Bloemfontein North. And you have your 1:10,000 extract from your 2926 AA10 of Bloemfontein North. So it means you cannot answer any questions without referring to these two maps. So of course you will be guided by the instruction if it's saying refer to the topographic map or it is saying refer to your orthophoto map. Then you will also be given the location of that area that you are that is being asked. So here we've got the map of South Africa. And the map of South Africa, then they give you the location. Where is this area? So we are talking about the map of Bloemfontein. So you can see there, here is Bloemfontein. Where is it located? So by looking at the map of South Africa, you should know on which province is Bloemfontein located. And then also, you will be given a general information. So general information is about the area in study. So in terms, most of the time, you will find that you are not familiar with the area. But as soon as you read the general information, you will get the idea on how the area is about. So if we can go through our general information, it's saying Bloemfontein is located in the central South Africa on the southern edge of the Highveld at an elevation of 1,400 meters, and also bordering on the semi-arid region of a Karoo. The area is generally flat with occasionally hills, which is the Koppies in Afrikaans, and general vegetation in Highveld grassland. So by now, you are getting in the general information that Bloemfontein is in the central of South Africa, and also it is a flat area, and there is a general vegetation. Remember, you need to interpret the map as well as the GIS. So we're going to have our first question. On our first question, as we are saying, it's map interpretation. So here it's saying refer to the topographical map or your orthophoto map. So which means some of the question will be based on the other map, which is your topographic, and some of the question will be based on the orthophoto map. So our question number 1 is a 2-in-1 question. It's a multiple choice whereby, but you need to make 2 choices. So a topographic map is, so here we are looking at the times. How many times is smaller than the orthophoto? And it shows what are the things that are shows in detail in that area. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes so you can make your combination. So remember, we are looking at the time of the topographic map, how small it is as compared to the orthophoto, and also what are the things or what are the details in that area. So your 2 minutes start now. Then we're looking there as our correction. Remember, you are supposed to identify how many times is the topographic map smaller than the orthophoto. So here we have our option A, which is correct. Your topographic map is 5 times smaller. Why 5 times smaller? Remember, the scale of the map is 1:50,000. What does it say? It says it has been reduced 50,000 times. Then you're looking at your orthophoto map. Orthophoto map, the scale is 1:10,000, which means it is only been reduced 10,000 times. So therefore, if we are comparing the 50,000 versus the 10,000, it will give you the 5 difference. So it is 5 times smaller. And it shows more detail of an area. So why does it show more? Because it is using the features which are represented by the points, by the lines, and by the polygons. So therefore, you are able to feature a lot of things on the topographic map. Then we're looking at our second question. In our second question, the index, which is the reference of the map sheet directly south of Bloemfontein North. So we are looking there at south of your Bloemfontein North, which is 29 and 26 AA East. Remember, we are looking at the south. So you've got the 4 options again. I'm going to give you just 1 minute, and then after 1 minute, we proceed to our solution. We're looking at the map index. Looking there at our solution, as we're supposed to identify the index of the map sheet directly south of your Bloemfontein North, which is 29 and 26 AA East. We're looking at our option C, which is your 29 and your 26 AC. Remember, we are referring to the south. Then we have our third question. In our third question, it's saying the predominant activities. Predominant activities, these are the main activities that you can find in that area. So the predominant activity located in block A1. So it is important to mark the block where we are looking at. So on which map you are referring to the topographical map is. So each and every one you go to your map, then you check your topographical map. What are you checking? You are checking block A1. So we are checking the predominant activities, which is the main activity in that area. So again, I'm giving you 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, we proceed with the correction. Right, looking there, I hope by now you were able to identify in that block B1 what is the prominent activity in that area. So you have seen that in block A1, it is full of the cultivated land. So therefore, the predominant activity, which means it is farming. If you don't want to say farming, you say it is a cultivation. Why? Because there is a cultivated land. Then your question number 4, we are referring to map evidence indicates. So now we need to look at the map as a whole because it says the map evidence indicates rainfall. So we need to look at the types of rainfall because of, so we are guided by the blue lines on the topographical map. It's a 2-in-1 question. Again, you need to make your combination. We're looking at the type of a rainfall as well as the reason as the blue lines. How are they? You have your Roman figure 1 to your Roman figure 4, then you make your combination, you choose your A or A, B, C, as well as your D. So I'm going to give you another 2 minutes so that you can make your combination. Remember, you first observe the map first, as it will indicate the type of rainfall. But bear in mind that you are guided by the blue lines. So if they are solid or if they are dashed or they are broken, what type of rainfall are they representing? So your 2 minutes start now. We're looking there at our combination. We're looking at Roman figure 2 as well as Roman figure 4, which is D. So looking at your Roman figure 2 as well as your Roman figure 4, it is saying the map evidence indicates that seasonal rainfall because of the dashed line. Remember the blue lines that are dashed, it means this area only receives a seasonal rainfall. There is a time whereby there is a dry season. And also looking there in our combination, it is saying then you compare vis-a-vis the map, you can confirm that in the map there are a lot of broken blue lines. So therefore those broken blue lines, they indicate that this is a seasonal rainfall. Then your question number 5, we have 2 questions. You refer to the waiver dam in block B3 on the topographical map. So these questions are based on block B3. So as you are going to your block B3, you are looking for the waiver dam. So the first question, in which direction does the water flow out of the dam? So remember, it is important to know, it is important on how to find the direction on the map. Remember, you are guided by your dam wall or you are guided by your confluence. Then secondly, you provide evidence from the topographical map. So from the topographical map to support your answer. Meaning you cannot just support your answer with something that is not on the topographical map. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on these 2 questions, and then after 3 minutes, we proceed to the corrections. Girls and boys, I hope we are still together. So your question 5.1, we're looking for the direction. As I've mentioned that the direction, you look at the dam wall. What is the dam wall? It's that line that is black on the dam. So you're looking at the position. Remember what you do. This is your dam wall on the side, and then this is your dam. So what you do, we simply locate your campus. Then you name, this is your north, and this is your east, and this is your south, and this is your west. Then you locate the position of your dam wall. The position of your dam wall is here between the west as well as the north. So therefore, the correct direction, we are saying it is northwesterly. We are guided by our campus as well as our dam wall. So what happens when there is no dam wall? You then look at the confluence. The confluence, remember, is the area where 2 tributaries meet, 2 or more tributaries meet. So you're looking at the confluence where they converge or where they meet, then you have an idea where is that river or that dam flowing to, on which direction. Then giving the evidence from the topographical map. Again, your evidence is the dam wall. So the dam wall are in the northwesterly direction. That is your evidence. So you've got 3 marks there. 1 mark for identifying the direction and 2 marks for giving the evidence. Then our question number 6, you refer to block B1. So you go to block B1 on the topographical map. Again, you've got 2 questions. The first one, how have the farmers in the area made irrigation of crops easier? Remember, irrigation, we're talking about watering of the crops or the plants. So looking at your block B1, how have they made the area to have easy on irrigation? Then secondly, you identify 1 recreational activity in block B1. Remember, recreational, we're talking about the sport activities. So again, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, we proceed with the corrections. With the hope that we are all done, so let us look at our first question, whereby you are supposed to identify how the farmers in the area, which is block B1, made irrigation for crops easier. So you see there in block B1, there are lots of furrows. So therefore, that furrows are one of the systems that can be used for the irrigation. Remember again, you have the references at the end of the map whereby all the symbols are featured there. If you are not sure what is that symbol for, so you just refer to the references at the bottom of your map. Then secondly, you are supposed to identify one recreational activity in block B1. Remember, if you're looking there in block B1, you will see that there is a gliding club. So in that gliding club, it becomes your recreational activity. Remember, recreational activity, we're looking at the sport activities. Then we're looking at our question number 7. So our question number 7 is saying refer to the orthophoto map. So what you do, you then change from the topographical map to your orthophoto map. So what are we looking at? We've got the two questions again. The area shown in at 8. So we're referring at the area that is shown in as number 8 in block B1. It's generally gentle or steep. So again, we go to that area which is located by number 8, and then we need to identify, is that area gentle or is that area steep? And then secondly, you provide evidence from the orthophoto map to support your answer. So remember, it is important that you interact with the map because you cannot just guess this is steep slope, and then providing evidence, you then just say without referring to the map. So hence, there is no method questions that you can answer without looking at the map. So again, I'm going to give you another 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, we will proceed to the corrections. Right, grade 12, looking there at our first question, the area at number 8 in block D1, it is gentle. So why it is gentle? Because we're looking at our 7.2, which is the evidence. The evidence, we see that the contour lines are spaced far apart, or the contour lines, you simply just say they are far from each other. We have learned from grade 8 as well as grade 9 that when the contour lines are far from each other, it means the slope is gentle, and when the contour lines are close to each other, it then means the slope is steep. Then we're looking at our question number 8. In our question number 8, it's saying, refer to the graph below showing the temperature differences between your houses as well as in block D2 or D3 and G in block A3 on the topographical map. We then again go back to the topographical map. We are looking at your block D2 as well as your block D3, and you're comparing it with your block A3. Let us see the questions. We've got 3 questions there, and what you see on the graph is what is on the map. 8.1 X on the above, which is below a graph reference, refers to the temperatures of the area, which is the Haylet or G. So here, by looking at the X, which is, it has a high temperatures, so is it between your Haylet or is it between the G? So again, you need to refer on the map first. Then you go back and you see on the map what are the things that could make the area to have a high temperature and what are the things that could make an area to have a low temperature. Then if you are able to locate those two, you will then be able to tell the X, which is representing your Haylet, or it's representing the G. Then 8.2, you provide evidence from the topographical map to support your answer. So hence I'm saying, even though the diagram you are given or the graph, but it is also referred to the map. So hence your evidence is supposed to come from the map to support your answer. Then your 8.3, you discuss the two possible reasons for these differences in temperature between the two areas that are shown on the below graph, 2 times 2, which means per reason you will have your 2 marks. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes to work on these questions, and then after 6 minutes, we will be able to proceed to the corrections. Grade 12, looking there, you were supposed to identify whether X on the above graph refers to the temperature area of the Haley or of G. So we are seeing that it is referring to the temperature of the Haley. Why? Giving to 8.2, the evidence. If you are looking there at the map, remember the highlight is between your block D2 and your block D3. You will realize that there is a gray color in that area. So that gray color, it is also referring to as a built-up area. You have learned in the valley climate that the area that is highly built or that has a gray colors, those are the ones that are attracting heat. And also, you will realize that between block D2 and D3 on the Haley, there is mostly artificial surfaces. Again, artificial surface, they attract more heat. So hence, as you can see there at X, that the temperatures are high. So what are they representing? They're representing the area D2 and D3. Then discussing the two possible reasons for the differences in temperature between the two areas. So number one, your Haley, it will have a warmer temperatures. Why warmer temperatures? Again, is because the area is built up. So therefore, there is no vegetation to cool down the temperatures, which means those built up or those artificial surfaces are going to absorb more heat. Then we're looking at your area G. Under your area G, you can realize that there is no built-up area. And there are also trees around area G. So therefore, it is cooler because of the natural surfaces. Hence, I'm saying there are trees that are surrounding that area. So those trees, they are a natural surfaces which reflects to the heat. So therefore, it will make the area to be cool. Then we're looking at our number 9. Our number 9 is saying refer to block E2 as well as E3 on the topographical map. So again, we are looking at E2 as well as your E3. So what are we doing there? You describe the two significance of row of trees in block E2 as well as E3. As you can see there, in between the two blocks, there is an evidence of the row of trees. So now we need to be able to identify the significance. Significance, it means the importance. Why are the row of trees there? What is it that makes it to be important for it to be located in that area? So 2 times 2, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, we proceed to the corrections. Continuing with our corrections, as we're looking at the significance or the importance of the row of trees in block E2 as well as your block E3. So number 1, for aesthetic reason. When you're talking about aesthetic reason, it is making an area to look beautiful. So besides the area being beautiful because of those trees, it also becomes it also protects the built up area. So as you can see there is a golf course at the center. So that golf course, it is also protected by the row of trees. So remember, in the golf course, they are playing golf. So therefore, we're talking about to protect the built-up area from the damages from the golf balls, from the golf course. Remember, those golf balls, they are very hard, so they can also destroy. So we're looking there at those two reasons. For number one, to make it the area to look beautiful or for aesthetic, and also to protect the area from the golf balls. Then your geographical information system under your GIS, number one, you should know your GIS components. Remember your GIS components, grade 12, you've been learning them from grade 10 and they are still the same. Just that in grade 12, now you need to know each of the component, what is the significance or what is the importance of that GIS component. So here, you already given the hardware, the data, as well as the methods. You were not given A and you were not given B. So let us look at our questions. Your component A in the illustration above is, we're looking at A. Is it a software? Is it a hardware? Is it people? Or is it processes? So to make things easier, when you answer such questions, the ones that you are already given, like your hardware, as well as your method, your data, should it be they were also included, you just cross them. So hardware you are already given, so it means definitely it's not this one. So here we're looking at the software, the people, as well as the processes. Then I'm going to give you just 1 minute, and then after 1 minute, we proceed with the correction. Right, we're looking at our GIS component, which is A. So you realize that A, you've got that a CD, which is the CD-ROM. So therefore, it makes it a software because the information is inside that CD-ROM. So therefore, it is a software. Then our second question, you need to identify the component B. So again, you are already given a hardware, you are already given a data. So it makes these two to be out. Remember, when you are getting multiple choice question, you need to start with the questions that are obvious that they are incorrect, so that you can be able to reason on which one is the most correct one. So again, I'm going to give you 1 minute, and then after 1 minute, we proceed with the correction. So again, this was the very easy one. You can see these are the people at B. So the answer is D, which is the people. Then we're looking at our question number 3. Question number 3, another term of method in GIS is what? Is it a function? Is it a procedures or computer or information? So again, you start by the ones that are obviously incorrect so that you can be left with the correct one. Another 1 minute, and then after 1 minute, we proceed to the corrections. We were looking for the alternative name or for another term for methods in the GIS. Remember, the methods are referred to as the procedures. Then we're looking there at our question number 4. In our question number 4, so we've got 4 It's question 4A as well as question 4B. Then you have your number 5, which is 5A.1 as well as your 5.2. All in all, you have your 4 questions displayed. So let us go through our question 4A. It says, does the orthophoto map consist? So we are looking at the orthophoto map. Does it consist a raster or a vector data? Remember, beginning of our lesson, I said it is important to know the difference between these two so that you can be able to locate which map represents which data. And then at B, you need to motivate your answer. When you are saying motivate your answer, it means give a reason. Whether you chose orthophoto map is a raster, you need to give a reason. Or whether we have chosen orthophoto map is a vector, then you give a reason. Then your question 5. A orthophoto map is an example of gathering data through remote sensing. Remember, we've already defined what is a remote sensing beginning of the lesson. So your first question under number 5, which is your 5.1, you define the concept remote sensing. And then secondly, how can remote sensing be used by the city planner? How are they going to be used by the city planner to further develop the area, which is your Bloemfontein? So here I'm going to give you 6 minutes to work on these 4 questions, and then after 6 minutes, we will be able to proceed with our corrections. Right, girls and boys, looking there at our question number 4A, you are supposed to choose, does the orthophoto map consist of the raster data or the vector data? So remember the orthophoto, it consists of the raster data. So why the raster data? The orthophoto map is an image. As you can see, you are able to identify the building. You are able to identify the road, the trees, all those features that are featured on the orthophoto map. Why? Because it is an image. And if you don't want to say it is an image, you can also say it is made up of the pixels. Then, your question number 5. An orthophoto is an example of gathering data through the remote sensing. Then you are supposed to define what is remote sensing. So we are saying it's the capturing or it's the gathering of information from a distance without being in contact or without being physically there. Remember, there are so many ways that you can use as long as it's the capturing or it's the gathering of the information from a distance without being physically there. Then 5.2. How can a remote sensing be used by the city planners to further develop the Bloemfontein, which is the area? So we're looking there, the city planners will be able to see the areas. They will be able to develop. Remember, they are able to capture all of the area and without being physically there. So it is also, the remote sensing is also accurate. So therefore, the city planners will be able to see which area they will be able to develop further, as well as the space that is still available for the development. Remember, if you are not using remote sensing, you might pick up the area, then you find that there is no space in that area, or that area is not suitable at all. So if they are able to gather this information before they even physically there, so by the time they are developing, it means their work will be easier. Then we're looking at our question number 6. In our question number 6, it's saying identify the following. So we are referring at the topographical map as well as the orthophoto map. Number 8, you need to identify the man-made feature, which is the line feature. Then B, we're looking at the man-made, which is the polygon feature. So you are given it the man-made features, but now there are examples. You need to give the line feature as well as the polygon feature. what kind of a feature or what type are they man-made, which are the constructed feature. So again, I'm going to give you 3 minutes so that you can be able to identify them on the map. And then after 3 minutes, we will then proceed with our corrections. Looking there, as we're looking at our man-made, which is a line feature, looking at our map, the road is one of the examples. It is a man-made. And what symbol are they using to identify this is a road? They are using a line. Again, you've got the rivers, which are being featured as the line feature. But now, because the question says a man-made, so for those ones who write the river, because the river is also a line, you will get an incorrect answer because the river is a physical, it's not a man-made. Then secondly, we're looking at the polygon feature. The polygon feature, remember your mine dump, as well as your excavation, as well as your dam. Those are the polygon features. Remember, we were looking at the man-made again. So looking there in those man-made features, we realize the area, it has a lot of dams. Remember the dams, again, they are man-made. Then we're looking at our question number 7. In our question number 7, it's saying, refer to the topographical map and the orthophoto map. Then you have 7A as well as your 7B. So you define the concept buffering for 2 marks. And then secondly, you provide evidence from the topographical map of a lack of buffering. So you need to prove that there is a lack of buffering in that area along your N1, which is a national road in block E1. So I'm going to give you again another 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, you then answer your buffering definition as well as giving the evidence from the topographical map that there is a lack of buffering along those N1 national road in block E1. Remember, you are not looking at the whole map or at the whole N1 road, but you are looking at specifically in block E1. Then, after 3 minutes, we will be able to proceed to the corrections. We're looking there at answering our buffering. Again, there are so many ways that you can use. We are talking about creating a zone. We are talking about demarcation of an area. Remember, as long as you are aware that the buffering is to protect or is to make a mark around that feature. So creating a zone or an area around the feature, which is the points, lines, or polygons. Or one may say demarcated an area around a feature, which is the demarcation of an area. Then at B, you are supposed to provide evidence from the topographical map of a lack of buffering along the N1 national road, which is in block E1. So now that you are aware that when we are buffering, we are creating an area or we are protecting the area with a certain feature. So there, looking at your block E1, there is no clear space between the N1 as well as the developed area. So therefore, if there is no clear space, it means that area is not buffered. Or one might say, also, we're looking there, beside there is no space. Also, all the road as well as the buildings, they are too close. Then we're going to look at our homework. In our homework for today, you need to just defining the following concepts. Number one, we're looking at the vector data. Number two, you need to define what is a raster data. Number three, you need to define the remote sensing. And then number four, you define the buffering. And then lastly, you need to define what is geographical information system. So to summarize what we have learned so far, we have learned about map interpretation. So when it comes to the map interpretation, we have looked into interpreting the map according to their temperatures, interpreting the map according to their area, is it flat or is it steep? And also we have looked into interpreting the scale as well as the sizes of the map and the map index. And then also we have learned about the geographical information system. Then to give you the preview of our next lesson, we want to focus on the urban settlement issues. Under there, we're going to look at the recent urbanization pattern in South Africa. We're going to look at identification as well as the causes and the impact and the solution of like your counter-urbanization. And then we're going to look at those urban issues, which are your pollution, your urban blight, your lack of planning, your overcrowding, as well as your social challenges. So we have come to an end of our lesson today. Hopefully you have enjoyed the lesson, but most of all, I hope you have learned. Thank you and stay tuned for the next lesson.